Hi, my name is Amanda Pennington, and this is Group 5's presentation on fractions, and we're going to get into it. Okay. Hi, let's make one whole. So today we're going to be talking about adding fractions and the different variations that we can use different methods and images to help us solve those. My name is Amanda Pennington, and let's begin. So first we're going to start on talking about how to write a fraction and what parts involve a fraction. So one of the first things are the denominators. A denominator can be referred to as a unit, which means the whole amount that we're going to be talking about. And the denominator is going to be always placed at the bottom of the fraction. The numerators are going to be on the top, and those are going to be the portions of the amounts that we're going to be adding together and that are a slice of the whole amount that we're going to be talking about. So here is one example of using a graph or image to let us see visually how to add fractions. So this is a pie chart, and what we're going to do is we're going to look at the color coding. So right now we're going to add together two fractions. We're going to add 1/6 and 4/6 together. So since we only have 1/6 that's in the yellow, we're going to color that piece of pie. So we only have 1/6. The blue is going to be the 4/6s. So since the numerator is 4, that means we're going to have 4 blue slices. So we colored in those 4. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add all the colored pie slices in together. So that's going to make us have 5. So since 5 is going to be our new number because 4 plus 1 equals 5, we're going to keep this 6, which is the denominator. And it's going to give us a fraction of 5/6. Here's another example of using a pie chart. So we have the problem of, will one pizza be enough for Janet, Jim, and you to eat? Janet will eat 2 pieces, Jim will eat 2 pieces, and you will eat 3 pieces. So we're going to write that as a fraction. A typical pizza has 8 slices of pizza. So we're going to put 2 for Janet for the pieces of pizza she will eat. I'm going to put 8 as the denominator. So we have 2 8s, and then Jim, he wanted 2 pieces, so we're going to have 2 8s for him. And then you wanted 3 pieces of pizza. And so that's going to make it a 3/8 of a fraction. And together, we're going to add those together. So we have Janet, which is the 1 and 2, the Jim, which is 1 and 2, and then us, which is 1, 2, and 3. So together, we're adding those fractions. So we're taking the top numerator, and we're going to add all of those together. So 2 plus 2 equals 4, and 4 plus 3 equals 7. So we're going to put 7 as the numerator, and then 8 as the denominator. So then we're going to talk about adding fractions together that have different denominators and how to solve those. So one way of it is an example of we have 1/4, and then we have 2/3 we need to add together to get the solving fraction problem. So one thing that I do know is that a 3 and a 4 times each other can give us the 12. We can switch the denominators and times it by the opposite fraction we're adding to both sides, and we can get a denominator that's the same. So with 1/4, we're going to times it by the denominator, which is going to be the 3, and we're going to do that to the top and the bottom of the fraction. We're going to go straight across, so 1 times 3 equals 3, and 4 times 3 equals 12. 2/3 times 4, which is going to be the 4th from the denominator. I'm going to add those together going straight across, or multiplying. And we're going to get 2 times 4 equals 8, and 3 times 4 equals 12. So now we're going to add the 3 and the 8 together, and that's going to give us 11/12. Okay, and here's another one where we're just going to break it down a little bit more. So we have the 1/4 and the 1/2 that we're going to be trying to add together. So the 1/4 multiplied by 2, we're going to do 2 this time. So 2 by 2, so 2 times 1 equals 2, and 2 times 4 equals 8, resulting in 2 8s. Then we're going to take our 1/2 and multiply it by 4, and we're going to do 4 on the top and 4 on the bottom. So 1 times 4 equals 4, and 2 times 4 equals 8, resulting in 4 8s. So the 2 plus 8, or the 2 8s plus the 4 8s equals 6 8s, because 2 plus 4 equals 6. And we're going to keep that denominator, which is 8. So now we're going to turn it over to Destiny Clowers and mixed numbers.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. So with Thanksgiving coming up in just a few weeks, I have a quote for you all to think about. It says, "There is always, always something to be thankful for." Well, did you know that we can even be thankful for fractions? Without them, we wouldn't be able to make that yummy pumpkin pie or those warm chocolate chip cookies that we all love to eat on Thanksgiving Day. My name is Destiny Clowers, and I want to show you all why we can be thankful for those pesky little fractions. So let's think about those warm chocolate chip cookies for a few minutes. How do you make them? What does the recipe consist of? Are there any fractions within the recipe? As the presentation goes on, you will see that there are, in fact, many different fractions and many different types of fractions within the recipe. So we're going to be identifying 2 different types of fractions that you'll see in the recipe. So we're going to begin with proper fractions. This is the first type of fraction that we notice within the recipe. Now you're probably wondering why these fractions are called proper. So let's just ask ourselves, what is a proper fraction? So a proper fraction is a fraction where the numerator is smaller than the denominator. So these fractions, they consist of a numerator and a denominator, just like any other fractions do. But the principle for these fractions is that the numerator has to be smaller than the denominator. So that means that if the top number value is lesser than the bottom number value, then these fractions will always be considered proper, and their value is always less than 1. So what examples can you find within the chocolate chip recipe that represent a proper fraction? Well, if we start at the very top, we'll see that we have a 1/2 cup of butter, and since 1 is smaller than 2, we know that 1/2 is a proper fraction. And same with 1/3. 1 is smaller than 3, so that fraction is proper. And 1/2 actually repeats itself for a cup of light brown sugar, and then a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. Now, these last 2, you're going to see a proper fraction, but you're also going to see a whole number with it. So this is the second type of fraction that we're going to talk about. And these are called mixed fractions. Now, these fractions are just a whole number and a proper fraction combined together. So, for example, the number 1 and 1/2 shows up twice. Once for all-purpose flour and once for a cup of chocolate chips. So do you see how that number is mixed with one whole number and a proper fraction? Well, that's why these fractions are called mixed fractions, because it's just those 2 numbers combined. So can you identify the different parts of the mixed fraction from the recipe? Well, this big one right here, this is the whole number. The smaller one right here is the numerator. And this one right here, the 2, is the denominator. So you can actually identify every single part of a mixed fraction. So in conclusion, as you can see, fractions play a huge role in these chocolate chip cookie recipe. So we see 5 proper fractions and we see 2 mixed fractions within it. So all in all, I hope that you each have a better understanding now about the 2 different types of fractions that we see in our everyday lives. This is why it's so important to know the types of fractions and what they mean, because you're going to see them everywhere. We're going to see proper fractions and mixed fractions when we are baking desserts or cooking foods on Thanksgiving Day. And now you can bake that yummy pumpkin pie or those warm chocolate chip cookies with ease. So now with the new knowledge that you have learned about fractions, you can now apply those fractions to different math problems and even to our day-to-day lives. So learning how to add and subtract these fractions is just as important as knowing what these fractions are. So with that being said, Taylor Richardson is now going to be showing you all how to subtract fractions. Thank you.
Thanks, Destiny. Where did it go? Okay. Hi, everybody. If you're anything like me, the 2 words subtraction and fraction don't sound very exciting when they're put in the same sentence with each other. My name is Taylor Richardson, and I'm here to help you learn some different strategies and pointers for solving subtraction problems with fractions. Subtraction of fractions isn't as easy as the way it rhymes makes it out to be. It's not as simple as just taking one thing away from another. When you involve fractions, you're basically taking one piece of something away from another piece of something and trying to find out how much of these pieces would be left if we were to take one away from the other. Trying to put it into words makes it sound more difficult than it is, so let's go ahead and look at an example. We can start with a simple one. The problem is, what is 7/6 minus 4/6? There are a couple of different ways that we can go about solving this problem. The first way is by looking at the problem like shapes that are separated into shaded into sections. Here we can see 7/6 is represented by 2 shapes. One of them is all shaded in, has all 6 areas shaded in, and the other one has just 1 shaded in, showing that 7/6. And we can subtract 4/6 from that by having a shape that has 4 areas shaded in out of 6. And from these shapes, we can see that the answer to 7/6 minus 4/6 is 3/6, which is equivalent to 1/2. Another way to look at this problem is with a number line. Here we can see a number line with fractions on it, 1/6, 2/6, and so on. And if we start at 0, we can see represented by the red line, we're going to move over to 7/6. And then in order to subtract 4/6, we are going to see from the blue line that we are going to go back 4 tick marks on the number line to subtract 4/6. And so we know that by using the number line, 7/6 minus 4/6 equals that 3/6 that blue line landed on. And so one more example of subtraction using fractions is this. What is 4/5 minus 2/3? In order to solve this problem, first we have to find the least common denominator. And to do this, the easiest way to find it between these 2 fractions is to multiply each fraction by the other's denominator. And in finding the least common denominator, this means that these 2 fractions need to have the same bottom number so that they can easily be subtracted from each other. So we'll start with 4/5, and we'll multiply it by 3, the denominator of 2/3, and we'll get 4 times 3 is 12 over 5 times 3 is 15. And we'll also do 2/3 times 5, and 2 times 5 is 10, over 3 times 5 is 15. And so from this, we see that they have the common denominator now, and we can know that 12/15 minus 10/15 is equal to 2/15. meaning that 4/5 minus 2/3 equals 2/15. These are some of the methods that can help you to make solving subtraction problems with fractions a little less of a headache. I hope that these have helped you in understanding the topic of subtraction with fractions, as well as addition of fractions and proper fractions and mixed numbers. Subtraction can be confusing, and throwing fractions in there can be enough to make you want to pull your hair out. Shapes, number lines, and common denominators are a few ways to help ease the stress of solving these types of problems. Subtraction is just a small part of everything that can be involved when it comes to fractions. My friends Amanda and Destiny talked to you all about some more of these. I hope you all have enjoyed this presentation on addition and subtraction of fractions, and we hope you all have gained something from us during this presentation. Thank you.